السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وكذلك في مسألة الملتجئ بالحرم حرمة إتلاف النفس يوجب حرمة إتلاف الطرف كالصيد. قلنا بل حرمة إتلاف الطرف يوجب حرمة إتلاف النفس كالصيد. So like this with regards to the masala of taking refuge in the haram. It prohibits or it necessitates the prohibition of killing a person. So it will necessitate the impermissibility of killing a part of cutting off a portion of the bird of the animal, like hunting. قلنا بل حرمة إتلاف الطرف يوجب حرمة إتلاف النفس. So we say that the prohibition of cutting off a limb, it necessitates the prohibition of killing, as in the case of hunting.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا، إنك أنت العليم الحكيم، وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم اشرح لنا صدورنا ويسر لنا أمورنا واحلل عقدة من لساننا يفقهوا قولنا، ونوّر قلوبنا بمعرفتك، واشرح صدورنا بنور كتابك وسنة نبيك، واحفظنا عن زلل وخطأ في بيان مرادك. So these next two masala that we're going to do today is not so clear as to how it fits here. Anyway, we're discussing called the inverse, the argument of the person presenting the argument. You make the illa the hukam and the hukam the illa. So a second example of that is a multaji fi haram. But the masala is here that if a person who has committed a crime, he's murdered somebody, and he runs into the haram, then he cannot be forced out of the haram. According to the Hanaf, you can't force him out of the haram in order to institute the had punishment against him. But what you will do is you will try to force him out through some other means. Cut off his water supply, nobody must talk to him, nobody must give him any food, and so on and so forth, until he's eventually forced by hunger and thirst to come out of the haram. So, multajib al-haram. So similarly, with regards to the masala, as a person who seeks refuge in the haram, in the sacred masjid, hurmatu itlaf nafs. From there we also prove the prohibition of cutting off the limb of any person. So from that masala, they prove what? Hurmatu itlaf nafs yujibu hurmatu itlaf al-tarf. Say that not the impermissibility of harming a person's limb necessitates the impermissibility of harming someone's life as well, or rather the other way around, right? Someone's life necessitates the hurma of harming the person's limb. Said, just like how in the case of hunting an animal. In other words, you are saying that you can't force somebody who's committed murder out of the Kaaba, out of the haram. But on the other hand, you say that if the person didn't kill someone, didn't murder someone, didn't destroy a life, but he destroyed that person's limb, cut his hand off, or his finger, or something like that, and he caused physical bodily harm, and anything less than a life. In that case, you can force him out. You can forcefully arrest him and bring him out of the haram, according to what you are saying now. Whereas the impermissibility of not executing a person, taking away his life for murder, necessitates that you can't execute any limb of his either. The greater should also encompass the minor, the lesser. That's why I said it seems like this type of argument normally revolves around quantity. So we inverse, we say no, بل حرمة إتلاف الطرف يوجب حرمة إتلاف النفس كالصيد. Or in the Makis is what hunting an animal. Just like it's not permissible to kill an animal, it's not permissible to cut off the limb of any animal either in the haram. In the same way with a human being. So we respond by saying that no, the impermissibility of harming a person's limb necessitates the impermissibility of executing him, of taking his life. The other way around, Kassaid, just like a hunting an animal. In other words, the lesser encompasses the greater. That if it's not permissible for you to harm a person's limb, it's not permissible for you to take the person's life. So the masala of not taking the life is on its place. And now we're saying that you can force the person out in order to execute, in order to cut off a limb. So isn't this going against what you're saying? We're saying yes, this is the qiyas. However, when it comes to the person's limb, you see the Sharia has dealt with it as a monetary matter. In other words, this is hukuk al-ibad and not hukuk al-sharia. Hukuk al-shara, because of hukuk al-shara in the case of the life, the Sharia has granted him refuge in the haram. But in the case of a person harming someone's limb, it is hukuk al-ibad, and that's why the Sharia has dealt with it like they would deal with a monetary issue. That's what the argument is anyway, right? So, for example, if a qasam is one hand off, you have to give half the diyat. One finger is 1/10 of the diyat, and so on and so forth. And one eye will be 50%, and like that, okay? So, we see that in this case here, the destruction of the limb doesn't necessitate the full diyat, but a monetary compensation. And a monetary compensation is normally attributed to hukuk al-ibad. And for all monetary issues, you can't take the person out of the haram, even according to you or opponent. You also say that if the person is owing someone money and he runs into the haram, you can force him out. So because this is a monetary issue where he has damaged someone's limb, so that is why we are saying in the case of the limb, you can force him out, even though the qiyas demands it did not be so. Like I said, this is not very clear anyway. فإذا جعلت أو فإذا جعلت إلة معلولة لذلك الحكم لا تبقى علة لاستحالة أن يكون شيء واحد علة لشيء ومعلولا له. So now once you have made the إلة حكم معلول again حكم, once you have made the إلة حكم and for that particular ruling, then your khasam, your opponent no longer, and you can no longer remain the إلة. Once you've changed the إلة into the حكم, opposite to what your opponent is saying, then they can no longer remain the إلة as well. Why? Because it's impossible that one thing can be both the hukam, a ruling, and the illa at the same time. It can't be the ruling and the cause of the ruling, the rationale behind the ruling at the same time. So by you saying that that's not the illa, your opponent is left without any illa for his ruling. Okay? But no uthani min al in the second type of qawl, remember we said qawl yesterday, inversing in arguments of two types. So that was the first type. The second type is أن يجعل السائل ما جعله المعلل إلة لما ادعاه من الحكم إلة لضد ذلك الحكم. That where you, the person objecting, the side objecting, he makes the illet which is being claimed, which the person is claiming to be the illet of the hukam, which the person presenting the argument is claiming to be the illet of the hukam, he makes it the illah for the opposite of that hukam. So the person presenting the argument is saying that A, B, and C, this is the illah for example, permissibility. So we say no, it is a illah, but it's the illah of impermissibility. It's a illah for impermissibility, not illah for permissibility for this reason. Okay?
Okay.
For example, فيصير حجة للسائل. So now in this way, by inversing it, it becomes a proof for the person raising the objection. بعد أن كان حجة للمعلل, after it was originally seemed like an argument in favor of the person presenting the argument. مثال example, صوم رمضان صوم فرض فيشترط التعيين له كالقضاء. The example is given with yesterday, that the fast of Ramadan is a fard fast. Therefore, it is to stipulate a niyyah, or to stipulate, to have a specific intention, is conditional, just like how it is in qada. In qada, because it's wajib, you have to stipulate. In the same way with the fard, you have to stipulate. So that's the argument. So we say قلنا لما كان الصوم فرضا لا يشترط تعيين له بعدما تعين له اليوم له كالقضاء. We say no, that the fast of Ramadan, since it is fard, therefore you don't have to stipulate it. After it has already been stipulated, it's like qada. Once you have stipulated, the day for qada becomes stipulated. For example, I make the intention that tomorrow I'm going to fast qada. Now it becomes stipulated for the qada. After, you don't have to make the intention again now while you're fasting, because you already made the niyyah. So once you have stipulated a day for qada, then it becomes stipulated. So in the same way, once you stipulated once the fast of Ramadan has been stipulated, there's no need for us to stipulate it again. There's no need for us to repeat the stipulation. So the Sharia has stipulated for us. There's no need for us to stipulate it again. And that work has already been done. That's it. Okay, can you hear me? Luqman, are you there? Luqman, are you there? Af, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
My network is stuck for some reason. Huh?
Sorry, what did you say?
I say my network is stuck now.
Where did you hear?
Devin Moulana just started by explaining it. This last Muslim which we do now.
So then, the second type of call. So where you say that the illa which you have said for a particular masala is actually the opposite. The ruling is actually opposite of what you are saying. So the example is the fast of Ramadan. The person presenting the argument is saying that because the fast of Ramadan is compulsory, therefore you have to stipulate it, just as you would in the qada. So we're saying no, that just like in the qada, which is once it has been stipulated, there's no need for you to re-stipulate it. So in the same way, in Ramadan, once it's been stipulated, you don't have to re-stipulate it. So once, for example, tomorrow I say I'm fasting, my intention is tomorrow that I'm fasting qada, I'm fasting a qada. Now that day becomes stipulated, the niyyah is stipulated. So there's no need now for me to keep on repeating the stipulation every time when I get up for sale or when I started the fast, because I already made the intention for that. So in the same way, for the month of Ramadan, that fast has been stipulated by the Sharia. So there's no need for us to re-stipulate. That's it. So we're saying the opposite of what you're doing. They're saying no, just like how in Qadha you have to stipulate. They're saying no, just like how in Qadha you don't have to stipulate once it has become stipulated. In the same way, you don't have to stipulate in the month of Ramadan.
So
Okay, so
the
that
opposite.
completes the opposite of what they say. So, Amal Aks, as regards Aks, what is Aks? فنعني به أن يتمسك السائل بأصل المعلل أو على وجه يكون المعلل مضطرا إلى وجه المفارقة بين الأصل والفرع. Aks means that the person raising the objection, the sa'il, the person objecting, he takes he he takes the hukam in such a manner, then he uses the hukam in such a manner that will force the person presenting the argument to acknowledge that there's actually a clear difference between the original masala and the secondary masala. So the person presenting the argument presented that this is the illah, or this is the hukm of the illah. So now we say, you know what, this hukm that you presented, it doesn't apply everywhere. So because it doesn't apply everywhere, it can't be the illah in this particular masala. Because an illah, according to you, it has to apply across the board to all such masail. So he's not doing so, he's not fitting into all such masail. It shows there's something wrong with the illah. Okay, for example, al-huli, for example, is u'iddat lil-ibtidal, jewelry which is used on a daily basis. Then, according to the Shawafi, any jewelry that a woman uses on a daily basis, there's no zakat for it. She doesn't have to pay a zakat for jewelry that is being used, that is in use. فَلَا يَجِبُ فِيهِ الزَّكَاةِ كَثِيَابِ الْبَذْلَةِ. So zakat is not compulsory in such type of jewelry, just like how clothing which is used on a regular basis, there's no zakat. And so as you know, zakat it only applies to wealth which is beyond the one's beyond one's necessities. So there's no zakat on the clothing that you wear on a regular basis. Okay, so just like how there's no zakat that you wear on a regular basis, in the same way, there's no zakat on the jewelry that you wear on a regular basis because it's part of your uniform, it's part of your dress. So cool, now we say that this illah which we have brought out doesn't fit everywhere. As ibtidal, it can't serve as a proper illah because it's not universal. لو كان الحلي بمنزلة الثياب فلا تجب الزكاة في حلي رجال كثياب البذلة. So we say that if you are equating jewelry to clothes, and in that case, the zakat should not have been compulsory on the jewelry that men use. No. Just like how there's no zakat on the clothes that they use. Right? So if ibtidal is the illah, how come men must pay zakat on the jewelry that they use? So your illah is not universal. It doesn't encompass the men also. What's the difference? So now they are forced to acknowledge that yes, there's a difference between the two. That the clothing and jewelry is not the same. Now, obviously, this might be just one of the arguments. If it even is the masala of the Shawafi, this might just be one of the arguments they're using. Right? This is just to train our minds and to get us understand the concept. You understand it?
Sure.
Barakallahu feekum. Right, the next one. What is this now, the fourth or the fifth? وأما فساد الوضع فالمراد به أن يجعل العلة أو أن يجعل العلة وصفا لا يليق بذلك الحكم. فساد الوضع means that you say the illah is invalid. That this can't serve as an illah, this cannot serve as an appropriate illah for this at all. And so previously we said that no, this isn't the illah, or what you're saying might be an illah, but this is more likely to be the illah. Or we said yes, it is an illah, but for this, not for the masla that you are trying to. But here we're saying here we're completely invalidating the illah. Fasad al-wada', you're completely invalidating it. That this can't be an appropriate illah, this can't be an illah at all for any hukam. Okay. For example, مثال في قول في إسلام أحد الزوجين. His example is the masala in regards to the one of the spouses becomes a Muslim. So اختلاف الدين طرأ على النكاح فيفسده. So there they say the illa is what? For the nikah to be broken. اختلاف الدين. One is a Muslim, other one is a Christian, other one is a Jew, whatever. So because of the difference in the religion, which has occurred upon the nikah, so they were both Christians, and now one became Muslim. They're both Jewish, one became Muslim, and so forth. So this occurrence of Islam, there's a diversion to Islam, causes the nikah to become fast. كارتداد أحد الزوجين, just as it would if one of the two spouses become a murtad. Okay? So what is the illa here? Becoming Muslim, اختلاف الدين. فإنه جعل الإسلام إلة لزوال الملك. But in this case here, Islam, becoming Muslim, is being made the illa for the removal of ownership of nikah, for the invalidating of the nikah. قلنا, we say this can't be. Islam أهد عاصما للملك. Islam has come to protect ownership. So how can Islam be a means of separation between couples? It's come to unite people. It's come to preserve people and their relationships and to strengthen the bond. How can Islam be made a means of breaking a bond? فلا يكون مؤثرا في زوال الملك. So therefore it cannot be effective in removing ownership. So this can't be an illa. How can Islam be an illa for something bad? That in a simple sense, that's what you are saying. In a very simple word. How can Islam be the cause of something bad? Understand?
Sure.
In both cases, in the case of irtidad and in the case of nikah, the reason is not because one became a Muslim. In the case of irtidad, because the other one left Islam. If they abandon Islam. You say if one becomes Muslim, one of the spouse becomes Muslim, you must present Islam to the other one. If they refuse, their refusal to accept Islam is the cause of the separation. Okay? Maaf?
So the refusal will be the illa.
The refusal will be the illa according to us. Islam itself can't be an illa. So we say that this illa is wrong, completely invalid. Again, وكذلك في مسألة التولي الحرة إنه حر قادر على النكاح فلا يجوز له أمته كما لو كانت تحت حرة. And similarly in the masala of the ability to marry a free person, a free woman. That is masala came many times now. If a person has the ability to marry a free woman, ask him, he is hur and qadir. He himself is free and he has ability, meaning monetary ability, to get married to a free woman. It's not permissible for him to marry a slave, a bondsman. if he is free and he has the monetary means to get married to a free woman, it is not permissible for him to marry a bondswoman. Just like how if he had married a free woman first, and now he wants to get married as a second wife, wants to get married to a bondswoman, it's not permissible even according to you, Ahnaf. In the same way here, it won't be permissible in the first instance. Just like how it's not permissible in the second instance, it's not permissible in the first instance as well. قلنا, we say وصف كونه حرا قادرا يقتضي جواز النكاح. We say that how can a person be free and able be a mani and a prevention from him getting married to whomever he wants? Him being able and free means he must be free to and allowed to get married to whoever he wants, whether it be a slave girl or a free woman. Okay? So وصف كونه حرا قادرا يقتضي جواز النكاح. The fact that he is able and free demands permissibility of the nikah. فلا يكون مؤثرا في عدم الجواز. So how can it serve as a cause for the impermissibility? How can someone being free and being able be a means for enable? Normally we can understand being a slave sometimes becomes a barrier. We can understand not being able being a barrier, being ajiz sometimes being a barrier, and not being able to fast. You don't have to fast. But being able and free, how can that be? Those are shurut for sihatul amal. How can it be how can it be a means of fasad al amal? Okay, understood? In the fiqh kitab, you see this often wherever the shurut are discussed. Quite often, hur, qadir, and so forth are mentioned. So how can that now become a cause for adamul jawab? You follow?
Yeah.
Barakallahu feekum. وأما النقد, as regards the last one, نقد. What is نقد? And نقد is where we present a counter argument. نقد is where we present a counter argument to the argument that is being presented. So the customer is presented an argument, and we produce a counter argument to show that what they're saying is wrong. Okay, he hasn't given the definition here. It might be in the hasha. No, sorry. Naqd is where the illat is found, but the hukam isn't found. The illat is found, but the hukam is not found. Okay, so we say that's not possible, that you have the illah, but the hukam isn't being applied. You can't have that. So فمثل ما يقال, so the example is الوضوء طهارة فيشترط له النية كتيمم. Example is that is saying wudu, you say wudu is tahara, a means of tahara, a means of cleanliness. So because it's a means of cleanliness, therefore it is a condition that you make intention. Because wudu is a means of cleanliness, you must make the intention for it to be so. So you must make the intention for it to be so. Like in the case of tayammum. Tayammum is a means of cleanliness, but because sand can be used anytime for various purposes, you must make the niyyah that you're using the sand for the purpose of tahara. So the same thing will apply to wudu. Okay?
Sure.
So we say ينقض بغسل الثوب والإناء. We say that this argument is broken when it comes to washing of clothing and washing of utensils. So that's also for tatir and tahara. You wash your clothes also for tahara purposes, especially if it's najis. And same when it comes to utensils, if there's something that's some najis found in it, you have to wash it out. But there is no stipulation of niyyah there. So your illa is applying sometimes and not applying other times. You're using the tahara because wudu is tahara, so therefore you must have the niyyah because tahara is a ibadah, innama al-a'malu bin-niyyah. So we're saying that washing your clothes and the utensils also act of gaining cleanliness, also an act of ibadah, but there's no intention stipulated there. There's no need for intention there. So your argument is broken over there. Well, right, that's the next one. And the last one, amal mu'arada. Mu'arada is what I told you, where you present a counter argument. I'm just going to finish this off quickly, right, if you don't mind. I know it's time up. Is it
No
okay?
problem.
So
Not a
mu'arada is where
problem.
you present a counter argument. And this is the one where you present a counter argument. وأما المعارضة فمثل ما يقال. For example, المسح ركن في الوضوء فليسن تثليثه كالغسل. It is said, for example, that masah is a rukn in wudu. So because it is a rukn, a fard of wudu, you have to make masah 3 times, just like how washing of the limbs is a rukn in wudu, and the limbs have to be washed 3 times. So we say al-mashu rukunun. Our counter argument is what? Yes, masah is a rukn. فلا يسن تثليث له كمسح الخف والتيمم. However, being a rukn doesn't necessitate it must be wiped 3 times, just like how it is a rukn in the case of making masa over your khuf. You make masa over your khuf once. So there's masa there also, but it's only once. And the same thing with tayammum. You only wipe the face once and the arms once. So it being a rukn doesn't necessitate tathlith. And we have examples from the Sharia itself where masa is a rukn and there's no tathlith, there's no repeating it 3 times. Understood?
Sure.
That completes the chapter. Bihamdillahi ta'ala. Qabbalallahu minna wa minkum. Any questions?
Nothing like it, man.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, subhanallah bihamdi, subhanakallah wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.